it's not just they wanted to jail Trump, they wanted to see him dead. Further confirmed by their celebration of Charlie Kirk's murder and assassination. If you were relying on the left-wing media, you wouldn't know about the revelations because of disclosures by the FBI to Congress and leaks by whistleblowers to the Senate about the wild abuses of power by the Biden gang at the Justice Department and FBI and the special counsel appointed by the Biden gang, Jack Smith, in targeting President Trump and literally hundreds of American citizens and groups, including United States senators. The big news headlines have been that Jack Smith sought and spied on the phone records of 20% of the U.S. Senate, 8 or 9 senators. They secretly got their list of people who they were calling and receiving calls from, secretly, and didn't tell anyone about it until just recently. And on top of that, there have been subpoena records showing that they were targeting not only Trump, but all sorts of groups like the Tea Party, like our friend Cleta Mitchell, Ed Corrigan of the Conservative Partnership Institute, with abusive subpoenas seeking credit records, seeking all sorts of communications with members of Congress, all sorts of First Amendment protected communications, all based on the fraudulent notion that it was illegal to dispute Biden's election. So the very pretext or predicate, as the FBI and the DOJ likes to say, for initiating this scam investigation to jail Trump, target the Republican Party generally, citizen activists at the state level involved in election disputes, groups who were just talking and exercising their First Amendment rights. They just went on a rampage of subpoenas and such, targeting them. And all of this has not been, by the way, disclosed by the Justice Department and FBI. Much of it was disclosed by a whistleblower or whistleblowers. Here's a look at the Arctic Frost subpoenas compiled by the Senate Judiciary Committee staff. And let's just go to the pages. Now, you're probably not going to see much here, but you'll see hundreds, I think it's over nearly 200 subpoenas. Everybody and their mother was targeted here. Conservative Partnership Institute, Mark Meadows, Cleta Mitchell, Justin Clark, the president's lawyers, other lawyers. They were targeting lawyers and trying to get confidential communications with lawyers, John Eastman, all of the president's top people, with outrageous bank record subpoenas, secret credit reports. They were secretly spying on these people. Now, the left likes to pretend, oh no, this wasn't spying because they're just gathering records. No, when they are secretly gathering records on you, that's spying. And by the way, some of the records show they were taping without informing the subjects of the interview. They were recording, and they were seeking to record these interviews. The FBI was seeking to record these interviews for, quote, intelligence purposes, and supposedly to criminal investigation, but in intelligence purposes as well. What the heck were they doing? And they kind of knew something was wrong. It was just reported this week over this crisis of the Senate being spied upon, that Verizon turned over all the cell phone record, all the toll records to the Jack Smith gang. But AT&T said, oh, we don't think this is legal. And Jack Smith ran. He didn't bother pursuing it because they knew it was not appropriate. So take a look at all of these lists here. They wanted to basically turn, and I've made this point before, and it's worth repeating, they were trying to destroy the entire Republican Party and conservative movement, Trump obviously was the focus, but here they were planning obviously to target hundreds of individuals with mass jailings. And I think it's only stopped because Trump happened to win. And you hear it in rhetoric now that they plan to do it again. They're not only unapologetic, they're promising to do it again. They're saying, we're going to come after all these Trump people who help undermine our democracy now. It's the same argument they used on January 6th. And who did it? Who knew? Chris Wray, Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco. Lisa Monaco is not a name you hear a lot about, but she was part of the Russiagate scheme during the Obama administration and was number 2 during the under the Garland Justice Department. And Grassley got the opening memo from, I don't know how he got it, doesn't really matter. It was produced to him. It was the approval to open a certain sensitive investigative matter, basically targeting Trump. And this is the outrageous part of it, the executive summary. This is the basis under which the director of the FBI launched an unprecedented effort to jail a former president. Fraudulent in an apparent effort to obstruct Congress's certification of the Electoral College, fraudulent certificates of electors' votes were submitted to the Archivist of the United States, purporting to represent the actual elector votes from the states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Wisconsin. That is a falsehood. Alternative slates of electors have been used time and time again in election disputes. You can't have a disputed election at the presidential level and expect to be successful unless you have an alternative slate. Most famously, John F. Kennedy did that in Hawaii in 1960. Open source reporting, meaning media that is anti-Trump, and public statements made by individuals closely associated with Donald J. Trump present an articulable factual basis indicating the existence of a federal crime, and thus the FBI seeks to open a full investigation. Let me see. I don't see if there's anything here that's outrageous. So it's just more of the same, and you can see the link below. And all of this material will provide links to you below as well. And so we have this wild abuse that's been exposed, and it's caused some heartache and concern and outrage on the part of those who have been targeted. They're outraged. And by senators who are outraged as well, and they want to have hearings. And I'm like, well, welcome to the party. As you may recall, I was targeted, your Judicial Watch was targeted, and indirectly you were targeted if you're a Judicial Watch supporter, because they don't like what your group is doing, your Judicial Watch you're donating to. In retaliation for our blowing the whistle on the abuses of Trump and supporting election integrity. And I highlighted it, and I described what happened to us here. Let me go to let me play the video first, and then I'll talk a little bit more.
Well, you know, I don't need to tell you, we're in banana republic territory now. The Biden administration, with its unprecedented and political prosecutions of Trump, is now officially a regime. You know, I've seen it up close. Not too long ago, I had significant skin cancer surgery. And a few hours after I got home, I'm on the couch recovering, feeling sorry for myself, when the FBI comes knocking. They came knocking on my door with a grand jury subpoena from the Biden DOJ. The agents tried to be pleasant and helpfully pointed out that something had come from me from Amazon. I suspect I am the first person in American history to receive FBI notice of an Amazon package delivery. I ended up being hassled and abused by the special counsel team for 4 hours over Trump documents, my First Amendment rights, and what I had for lunch with President Trump. It was a partisan fishing expedition. Frankly, it was like having to spend a day on an MSNBC panel. But I knew why they brought me before that grand jury. It was payback and intimidation for daring to defend Trump against their abuse of power.
I mean, isn't that outrageous? I know what happened to me. I'm talking like it's someone else, but it's outrageous. And this is the tweet I have, because obviously I'm outraged about the release of this information. A lot of my friends and colleagues in the conservative movement were also targeted. I knew that generally, but to see the specifics of it and how deep they went into the personal backgrounds, getting personal financial information, obviously trying to build a fake case to jail the entire conservative movement and turn the country into a one-party state. It's disturbing to see these documents. And so as I describe what happened to me here, look at this tweet. It's well worth considering. When the Biden DOJ, FBI, and Jack Smith retaliated against and abused me and Judicial Watch, which of course is the country's leading government watchdog group, we heard nary a peep from Republicans in Congress. We had no support, no outrage, no investigations. Instead, they kept funding the abusers. And they're still funding the abusers. This continuing resolution, there's no significant cuts to the FBI. Justice Department hasn't been significantly cut. I mean, I'm frankly tired of the Congress complaining and not doing anything. I mean, I'm glad they're releasing documents. I'm glad they're getting material out. It confirms just how deep and dark and corrupt the Justice Department and FBI were, and I would argue still are, despite the new leadership. But they're still fully funding everything. They haven't had any significant hearings on this issue yet. I mean, this is what I said about the CR fight as it relates to this scandal. I just reviewed the latest documents released by Chuck Grassley showing an abusive targeting of Trump, the Republican Party, and dozens of conservative groups, leaders, and lawyers, all of whom were targeted with countless secret subpoenas by the Biden-Obama gangs, DOJ and FBI, Jack Smith specifically. At this crisis point, the government shouldn't reopen unless the FBI is dismantled and the Justice Department is defanged. I mean, do you think the FBI can be trusted? They're going to do exactly what they did if there's a different president who doesn't like Trump or conservatives. They're prepared to do it. It can't be trusted. And I'm sorry, these records that were released and leaked, President Trump should be asking, why haven't these been released sooner? Judicial Watch asked for Arctic frost records in January of this year. We sued in July. We've been getting the runaround on not only Arctic frost records, but virtually everything from the Justice Department and the FBI's abuses of Trump and other innocents. Yes, they're releasing some documents to Congress, and that's to be applauded. I'm not going to complain about transparency in that regard, but I am going to complain about partial transparency, and I am going to complain about a failure to follow transparency law on these issues of public controversy, especially the wild abuses of power that nearly destroyed our republic last year. So is the FBI going to investigate the FBI agents who did this? Is the Justice Department going to investigate the Justice Department prosecutors who were involved with Jack Smith? Heck, they're still hiding Jack Smith's top people from Judicial Watch. They don't want to give us their names. This Justice Department under Pam Bondi still fighting us. Kash Patel's FBI still fighting us on text messages from some of the abusers there, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. No records on Arctic frost. No records on every topic that you're concerned about. We're getting little or no responses. I mean, the one thing they did give us was the Biden tape. showing that Biden was completely out of it. But even then, it took 6 months. And they leaked it to Axios first. So forgive me for being a little impatient, but where is the justice? Congress is releasing records. Judicial Watch can release records. Why are they giving money to these people? There's no investigation. They say there are, but there's none. At least that I'm aware of. I'm told that there should be a grand jury in Florida in January. What, 3 months from now? So what is going to happen? Well, first of all, what should happen, from my perspective, maximum transparency, get all the information out so we know who needs to be held accountable, and so we don't rely on conflicted Justice Department deep staters to tell us who should be held accountable through coordinated leaks. We want the full truth, the full list. Let's go back to these Arctic frogs. Well, I guess we don't have the full records, but when you look at the records, they're all blacked out. So a lot of the abusers' names are still being withheld. Right now, the Justice Department and the FBI are not in compliance with federal transparency law because they're protecting corrupt acts targeting Trump. That's the insanity we're in. So when you see Trump say he's impatient and why aren't things being done, there's a lot behind that. He must surely know that. And if I were President Trump, I've said it once, I've said it before, he's the magistrate in chief. He should run the investigations directly and directly run the prosecutions, have a special counsel report directly to him, staff it with people who aren't conflicted, no FBI guys, no DOJ prosecutors. There are plenty of other law enforcement types in the federal government he can use. They can bring in private entities, private individuals. And the prosecutions would be run like other federal prosecutions with all due respect for civil rights and before grand juries and typical investigations. But the president is the prosecutor in chief. They've already demonstrated they can't get it done. I mean, look at the even and I do think they do want to get some things done, and I do think there will be certain things done, but it will be woefully insufficient. Look how painful it was to get that Letitia James indictment done. Look how painful it was to get that Comey indictment done. It's only the tip of the iceberg. And they still haven't gotten Jack Smith before a committee in Congress. They still haven't gotten. And they're still fully funding this FBI. So we're going to keep on fighting in court for the full truth here. And I'm going to keep on pressing. It's not because I dislike Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or Dan Bongino. I admire them all. I just, on behalf of Judicial Watch, strongly believe we need a radically different approach to handling these abuses of power that nearly destroyed our republic and got President Trump killed. It's not just they wanted to jail Trump, they wanted to see him dead. Further confirmed by their celebration of Charlie Kirk's murder and assassination. And I tell you, if the FBI is still around in its current form, when a Democrat president comes in, or even maybe a Republican president, a loser Republican, it's all going to start up again. And they're running out of time. Arguably, they've already run out of time. And this is why it's so important to support Judicial Watch. Because we're not afraid to tell the truth, sometimes get our friends mad, and we are not afraid to sue the government. even if it results in my being called before a grand jury to be questioned about my tweets by lunatic anti-Trump prosecutors. So more FOIAs, continued lawsuits, and more are coming to get to the heart of the worst corruption scandal in American history, courtesy of Judicial Watch. And I encourage you to call your members of Congress and senators saying, what are you doing? The hearing isn't enough. Press conferences aren't enough. We're going to have the same FBI funded at the same levels that we've had forever. Same Justice Department with the same abusive authorities. They got to have their wings clipped. And Congress can do that and must do it. And in the meantime, Judicial Watch will keep on keeping on because we don't trust Congress and we don't trust the deep state agencies to get it done. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.